Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's draft week.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What's poppin', y'all? It's me, Cowboy Bells, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports. As I have said many times already, it is draft week, and I am absolutely excited for it. It's going to be exciting. Don't know what the Packers are going to do, but in today's video, I'm going to pretend, well, I've done a lot of mock drafts online. I've done a lot of first round things. If you haven't seen my recent videos, I've done a lot of that stuff already, which makes sense. But this time, for sure, this is going to be my preference, and I'm going to do all the Packers picks, rounds 1 through 7. I'm going to do all the picks, and I'm going to explain who fits best for the team. Now, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of thinking. I watched a lot of ESPN. I was like, okay, I gotta think who fits the team best. And it's interesting. There's a lot of guys that I really do like. But it's interesting because you never know what's gonna actually happen. So, part of me thinks the Packers are gonna trade up for fourth year in a row. But I personally want them to trade back. That's a preference. But it's interesting what will happen. So obviously there's going to be no trades because I'm making sure every pick happens. If we do make a trade though, one of our fourth round picks will likely be gone. But I don't know what will happen. But anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. Subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, share, and let's get to the video. Alright, so anyways, we have 10 picks. We got the 29th overall pick in the first round, 62nd in the second round, 92nd in the third round, 135th and 142nd in the fourth round. We have the 173rd and 178th in the fifth round. We have the 214th and 220th in the sixth round, and the 256th in the seventh round. So that's 10 picks. Crazy enough as it is, that's a lot of picks. So obviously, I believe they will make a trade. But if they don't make a trade, that's just lame. So, anyways, with the first overall pick, Packers will select Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. Now, a lot of people are thinking, a lot of these guys, but this is a guy I think is really good. We need a guy on the opposite end. A lot of people know the Packers need to be playing it safe. Losing Corey Linsley, I think, was huge. And I think the Packers, they trust the guys that they have. Getting a tackle would basically solidify Billy Turner not having to be forced to play that position because, I wouldn't say he was the greatest doing that. But losing Corey Linsley isn't going to be huge. But you got Lucas Patrick, Elgin Jenkins, and then the draft pick last year, Jacob Hansen at center. And then Tevin Jenkins, this rookie, or this guy that I hope we draft, I think is a great player. He was all-team Big 12. He doesn't really give up sacks that much. He was really high-graded, really great, athletic. He was a veteran on that Oklahoma State team, and I think, getting a tackle on the opposite end, someone like him, I think really could have the veteran presence. So that would make our lineup look like Bakhtiari, and then you got Lucas Patrick and Elgin Jenkins. One of those guys will be center, and one of those guys will be guard. Billy Turner will go back to guard, and Tevin Jenkins will start. I know we got a lot of depth at the line, but I think what's important is getting a starting tackle to start, because I think getting a guy, I think, is going to be a big reason why we have success. So going on, second round. Now, this guy keeps showing up, and I really like this guy. I know his stats, weren't... I mean, he had good stats, but Kentucky didn't play in very many games last year. It's, of course, Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. I know we need a linebacker, Christian Kirksey's gone. We got Chris Barnes, and we got Kamal Martin. And Ty Summers is the slow dude that can't tackle, but whatever. We need a guy that can tackle. This guy can do a lot. We've seen him really put up numbers. This guy keeps really showing up in my feed. He does remind me a little of Kirksey, but he, I think, can have a lot of flashes. He had 102 total tackles. 48 of them were solo, 54 of them were assists. He only had 1.5 sacks on the year, but, a lot of people know they had a very shortened season. He's more of a guy that goes out in pass coverage. He had 1 forced fumble and a fumble recovery, 3 interceptions, including an 85-yard pick six, was one of his highlights this year. He's definitely a guy that I really think is a starter. Him and Chris Barnes would make a great duo. I think, a lot of people think he could go in the first round. A lot of people think he'll be in the second round. Some people even think he'll be in the third round. He's very unpredictable. No one knows where he's going to be. But I think he's going to be great wherever he goes. I think it's a very underrated pick for any team to get a linebacker like him. I like this guy a lot, and totally hope that we end up getting someone like him. I love his stats, and that's really all I have to say. A linebacker that can tackle and make the plays. It's just a safe thing, because you're replacing Ricky Wagner for the first pick, and then you're replacing Christian Kirksey with the second pick. So I think these would be smart things. Next pick for the third round, we have Amari Rodgers, the wide receiver out of Clemson. Of course, we don't have many wide receivers. We got Devontae Adams, of course. the dude is something else. But everybody else, can make plays. We're getting Devin Funchess finally. Alan Lazard, Marcos Valdes-Scantling, and EQ. But the problem is, none of these guys are real slot guys. So the thing is, I know that Gute doesn't really like to draft, smaller type guys, but I like Amari Rodgers. The season he did have with Clemson, he did put up phenomenal numbers in limited games. In his sophomore and junior year, he both got about a lot of catches, 4 touchdowns, and he was a fast guy. This was his best year. 77 catches for 1,020 yards and 7 touchdowns. Average 13.2. He's a good slot receiver. I definitely think we need a slot guy. He reminds me a lot of Randall. Well, I don't know if he reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb, but he's a definite slot receiver. Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. I like the guy. I think he deserves... he might be a early second rounder, or he might be now. I don't know what's going to happen, but I definitely like this pick where it's at. Okay, next guy. For the fourth round, 135th pick overall, the Packers will take Benjamin St. Juste, the quarterback out of Minnesota. Cornerback. Not quarterback. Cornerback. He's not really much of a guy that gets interceptions, but he is a big, physical, athletic corner. I've seen his tape. I was like, who's this cornerback that's matched up against Wisconsin? I'm like, this guy is big and he's athletic, and it was hard to get passes against him. That dude is a really good cover, and a lot of people don't want to throw to him. He showed movement skills that could make him a starting corner down the line. I think he has the potential to be. And I think if the Packers get him, it's an absolute steal, because down the line, he could end up being a starter or something like that. I know he hasn't made interceptions, but the dude is a pure tackler, the dude is a great defender, and I think he's physical, and I think the Packers could totally run the podium for him. Next up, in the other fourth-round pick, we're going to take Milton Williams, the defensive lineman out of Louisiana Tech. This is another guy that can definitely start defensive end or anywhere on the defensive line. He also is Kenny Clark's position, but he can play anywhere on the defensive line, which is a great thing. Didn't really play much sophomore year, but junior and senior year were big years for him. Junior year was especially his best. 59 total tackles, 5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. And then last year, he had 45 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and a fumble. And his numbers were just as good as his other ones. Obviously, not as many games, but this is a guy that's a great pass rusher. Obviously, we had the troubles with Lancaster and Lowry, and Kingsley Cleekey showed some flashes, but this guy is a good pass threat, and I think he could actually work his way up to starting. I really like this guy. I think, it's a steal. I love it, and there's nothing really else to say here. Okay, going on to the 5th, 6th, and 7th round, most of these guys are more depth, okay? These aren't going to be real steals. These guys are going to be more like depth players. 5th round, I'm going to take Robert Hainsey, the guard out of Notre Dame. Obviously, as we saw last year, Packers actually used day 3 of the draft to get a lot of offensive linemen. We saw Simon Stepaniak, John Runyon, and Jake Hansen be all taken. And, they're all still going to make the team. Josh Ninjaman is another guy that is supposed to be really good. But I think we need another guy that can really be depth, especially at the guard position. We got tackles. We do. But I think we need more depth at the guard position. They could double down again here, hoping to find a diamond in the rough here. He's a versatile lineman. He can either lean... Yeah, he also is a tackle, too. He also can play any position, which is a big deal. But the worst case scenario is he could be a versatile backup on a cheap deal. And that's a great thing. That's nice. And from what I've seen from the highlights from him, he has some starter-level traits for Green Bay. So, a lot of people know Bakhtiari wasn't taken until I think the 4th or 5th round, and he ended up being a star, so maybe it's a steal. Who knows? Alright, other 5th round pick. I know a lot of people might not be happy with this one, but I do like this guy, and I think it could be great getting a guy like this. Chris Evans, not the actor, not Captain America, no. Chris Evans, the running back out of Michigan. And the only reason why is because we lost Jamal Williams in free agency. Jamal Williams is a pass-catching back, tough runner, and I think they could use this pick to get another running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield because, Aaron Jones is very reliable, but the problem is sometimes he was too not reliable. He's not the greatest in third down situations. He's a first down back, not a third down back. Chris Evans is a third down back, and we need a guy to technically replace Jamal Williams. Despite his limited production due to the poor offensive execution by Michigan last year, we saw that he only had 16 attempts for 73 yards and a touchdown, and 9 catches for 87 yards. But his previous years, how about this? He freshman year, 614 yards, 4 touchdowns. Sophomore year, 135 yards, 135 attempts for 685 yards and 6 touchdowns. Junior year, 81 for 423 and 4 touchdowns, and then he'd have an injury layoff year. He'd come back, but they never really played him. So he's got a lot of total touchdowns. Michigan just kind of is collapsing as a program, but Evans was a tough runner those first couple years, and I think he's really good, and I definitely think it would be a great pick. So that's that. Next up, for the 6th round, we're going to take Patty Fisher, the linebacker out of Northwestern. He was a leader of a dominant Northwestern defense, and he could bring the backers some more depth at the linebacker position. I think it'd be great because I'm not a fan of Ty Summers. I thought he was going to be good, but no. I think this Patty guy actually can play really well. I saw Northwestern play this year. He was good. And the Packers are very weak at the linebacker position, so getting a guy like this, I think, could add a lot of depth to the thing. And Fisher would make a lot of sense. Looking at his stats, his freshman and sophomore year were outstanding. Obviously, We didn't get to see a lot of action his junior year due to a minor injury, and this year because of COVID. But I mean, his freshman and sophomore year, he had freshman year 111 total tackles, 116 in his sophomore year. Doesn't get many sacks because he's a coverage guy. He only has 2 total sacks in his 4 years, but a lot of fumbles, a lot of forced fumbles, 4 each in his freshman and sophomore year, and 1 in his junior and 1 in his senior year, and a fumble recovery in his senior year, and 4 total interceptions in those 2 years. So he's a guy that can really be coming off special teams. He's a great player. I think that it would make a lot of sense to get someone like that. Yeah, I know a lot of Big Ten people, and I'm still going to go with Big Ten people, because the next pick for our very 6th-round pick, yes, I'm going to go with this one because I always have to root on my Badgers. Yes, we're drafting Rashad Wildgoose, the cornerback out of Wisconsin, but this obviously is another pick for depth. I liked this guy. I thought he was actually pretty good for the Badgers when he played. Didn't get really much time to play because he was a slot. He's basically like Chandon Sullivan, right? He's a slot corner. Freshman year, 29 total tackles, 22 were solo. He was a great solo tackler. We didn't really see much of him, but I know he has it. 22 in his sophomore year, 16 soloed, and he has an interception. And then, this year, he only played in 2 games this year, but he only had 6 tackles, but that were all solo, and he looked really good in those 2 games. I was looking at him, I'm like, okay, this guy actually is playing phenomenal. Yeah, his only weakness is pass interferences once in a while, but he's a very dangerous corner, and I definitely think he could do a lot for the Badgers on the Packers on special team, because he did a lot for the Badgers on special team. So I think it's just a depth move. And then finally for the 7th round, again, this is for depth, but we're going to go for tight end Tony Paljan out of Virginia. Again, this is for depth. I know we have tight ends. I know we have 5 tight ends that got starting time last year. But, of course, the tight ends were a reason for our running the ball success. And this guy's a huge blocker. Yeah, and he did some receiving stuff on the end. Sophomore year, 7 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Junior year, 33 yards, 496 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Senior year, 38 yards, 411 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, yeah, he was doing good things. But it's a very underrated pick. I know he's going to fall to the 7th round, but I'm just kind of we could use a tight end for depth. We seem to really like drafting tight ends, and that's a thing Gute likes. That's a guy that could switch to wide receiver, possibly. We have a bunch of guys. Sternberger might even be cut, to be honest. He just has not really fulfilled his position in the last 2 years, and has just been injured, and it just hasn't really worked out. So Sternberger's a guy that actually could be cut. And I think Paljan could be a guy that could actually come in there and do a lot, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's that. That's all my 7 rounds. So, of course, I doubt, all these are completely correct. Last year I didn't get a single pick right, but we all saw what happened last year. But the draft is very unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. But as long as you stay tuned on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on ABC, ESPN, and the NFL Network, we're going to have a very exciting draft. Roger Goodell is going to be hugging people. It's going to be great. Things are going back to normal. I'm very happy about it. And that's that. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, share, do whatever you can. And as always, I'm Cloudboy Bales. Stay safe and be smart. Go Pack Go. We'll see you next time. Also, I should mention, I probably will not be doing an episode on the Brewers this week due to the draft. So that's just another update I figure I'd say. Because Wednesday is the day before, so I might be doing one more mock draft in the first round. Depends. But it's going to be a very busy week for me, so don't sweat it. So anyways, again, I will salute out here. Take care. Go back, go.